Welcome to the latest edition of Driven by Tom. In fact, this is our second video under this banner. Thank you for liking and subscribing our Steve Berry video, which was put out last week. But today, I am joined by Taylor Walsh, our business manager here at Tom Harbin Limited. And we are in front of, what are we in front of, Taylor? Do you know?
A Lee Francis Hyper, but not much else. So I'm hoping you could tell me more.
So actually, the Hyper is the sort of the pet name for the car in some respect. It's actually a Type S model. Okay. Lee Francis tended to use the P-Type, M-Type, etc. And then the Type S was introduced to be their motorsport car, which was introduced in 1928. And it was one of 50 manufacturers building cars in the Coventry area at the turn of the century. Not many people know of the car, but it was up there. It was a big producer, initially starting out with motorbikes before moving on to four wheels.
So did they compete in anything in that time?
Yeah, so the Hyper was introduced, or the Type S was introduced to be their racing car model, because after all, Brooklands had been opened and built, or built and opened even, because you don't tend to open something before you build it, but we can open the bonnet in a minute. It was their racing car. And in 1928, when it was first introduced, the Hyper went across the water to Ireland and raced around the Ards TT circuit. And in fact, it won the Ulster TT in 1928. And one of those cars recently sold 165,000 about 2 to 4 years ago.
So it really is the old adage of race on Sunday, sell on Monday.
Absolutely, absolutely. Somebody taught you that. And it's a fantastic car. It's still in its original colour combination, hence the green and black. Green and grey. There we go. It's not black, and I'm not colourblind. I do have a race licence. But it has a black chassis.
It has a black chassis. So what engine does this car feature?
So Lee Francis was essentially component manufacturers. So they bought in items, and the car features a very robust and well-performing Meadows engine, as you would find in a Fraser Nash. In fact, Patrick Blaney Edgeworth gets these engines to really go well, even without a supercharger. This car is supercharged. You also found them in the Lagonda, using a 4.5 litre engine size, but this is the 1500cc or 1497cc Meadows engine 4AD, so 4 meaning 4-cylinder. And then we've got a supercharger, which is a Cosette supercharger. This is in fact a number 8 blower. It would have run a much bigger blower, but with modern ingenuity and know-how, we can get a similar sort of blow power out of that as we've got to the bigger one for more reliability, and those parts are available off the shelf.
Mounted vertically? Mounted
vertically behind that distinctive slope back radiator, which gives it quite a nice aggressive stance to the car when it's on the road or track. Original engine, rebuilt in 2014 by the previous owner. And we're selling on behalf of his estate. So in fact, the car is essentially a matching numbers car. There are some body panels that had to be replaced in its last restoration, and the body frame is the original.
A little birdie tells me Tom Delaney drove something very similar to this in period.
And in fact, Tom Delaney drove this particular car in period when it was new. It was the last works competition department car and factory demonstrator. So anyone wanting to buy a Type S at that time would have actually driven this car before placing their order. But Tom, I was racing with him 2006, dare I say it, shortly before he died. He only died a few months after that Donington race, which was fantastic. But Tom, along with Sammy Davis, raced the car at Brooklands in one of its first outings. In fact, Tom won an event at Shelsley, if memory serves. So fantastic car, very distinctive car, because this was the second generation of the Type S, and they did away with the fabric body of the original 1928 car, putting the all aluminium body round a steel frame, and they lowered the back of the car. I think there's a slightly larger boot capacity as well, ideal for touring and for doing events like the Flying Scotsman.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. It's clearly road legal and it's road ready. What competitions can it enter?
So, a whole host of VSCC events, as well as Le Mans Classic.
Yep.
So, perfect for 2025 is the next Le Mans Classic, isn't it? So you could do Le Mans Classic in the car. We've got a steel crank and rods in there, so it's a very strong engine. I can't see why, with a gentle further development, that the car can go and compete wherever. Flying Scotsman and various other endurance rallies, as well as racing this year at the 90th, or competing in events, because it's 90 years of the VSCC this year. This car is 94 years old this year as well, so a fantastic birthday present will be to take this car and do some VSCC events
Around the UK?
Around the UK, across Europe, and then on to Le Mans Classic next year. In fact, you could actually make a whole year or 12 months of enjoyable racing and driving.
So we're going to put some P1 fuel in it.
We've already put P1 fuel in it, fully synthetic. So carbon offset on this car is well, it's done. There is no carbon footprint running on P1.
Exactly. So we're in the heart of the Ribble Valley.
We're going to
take it
for a drive, and it's a very interesting starting procedure, which I'll show you in a second.
Exactly.
Once we've got that bonnet down, and it stopped raining, I believe. So let's go and enjoy. So interesting dashboard you have on the So this is a dashboard on the Lee Francis Hyper. We have, first of all, speedo, rev counter, blower gauge, which tells you the boost pressure that the supercharger is producing, and then we have both oil pressure, water temperature, and air pressure. The air pressure was for the old pressurized fuel tank, but we've now got an electric fuel pump on the car, makes things a lot easier. So first of all, to start, I turn on the battery cutoff switch, I push in the ignition button, and that we can hear the SU carburetor ticking, filling up the SU carburetor, and then we have something called a gas pump, because we've got quite a long distance for the fuel to travel from the carburetor through the blower in the induction system. So what we have here, we have what we call a gas pump, so that's pumping neat petrol directly into the inlet manifolds near the openings of the block. So give it a couple of 3 pumps of that. Oh, it's a bit stiff. There you go, we're out of gear, and then I'm going to press the starter button, and hopefully she'll fire. Centre throttle. And there she is. So Taylor, are you ready for this? The roads are almost as bad as they are in 1930. So you get a real experience of what it was like to do the RCT. Feel the wheel spin then in seconds. So supercharger really begins to pull 2,500 RPM. So 2.5 there. Quite a steep uphill there. A real experience of what the drivers, navigators went through when they were racing in those early days on these road circuits. So third gear. The torque that the supercharger gives, the pull, it's fantastic.